All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Schools. The PC is currently under construction, so I'm about to do what I gotta do to still get these videos out. That's why I haven't been able to put out videos the past couple of days. But today I'm getting one out, and we have major news today. The Commanders are supposed to be fully sold by July 20th. The NFL owners will vote July 20th before training camp to officially get all of this through. The finance committee was like the main thing in the way. They handled what they needed to handle last week, and then now all we're worried about is the NFL owners making sure that they come to the right amount of votes for this to be officially completely sold to Josh Harris and his group away from Dan Snyder. So of course, you know, Rico of Street Scores, we got to dive into all of the details with everything going on with this situation. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Once I get my PC back, y'all are getting film sessions, all kinds of stuff for the entire rookie class, constant content, all of that. Again, just to keep y'all updated, just to keep reminding y'all, the Commanders do not start training camp until late July. So there's like really nothing Commanders going on until then, but I have so many video ideas, so many film sessions I need to get through that honestly have enough content to keep posting every day leading up to training camp. Then of course, training camp, I'm gonna cover all of that every day, giving y'all the clips of what happened and the breakdowns and analysis of everything that happened every practice too. So make sure you stay tuned, hold tight. Without further ado, let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, so the NFL has scheduled a special owners meeting for July 20th for consideration of the Commanders' sale and a potential vote. Source says the league notified the owners in a memo late Thursday, and we're working on more details as we go along right now. And this is like an impromptu meeting. This is a meeting just for this. This is not a meeting like this time of year that they have like annually all the time. It's like a consistent thing. This meeting was literally put together for this sale from all of the information that I'm receiving. And like I mentioned in the intro, man, the finance committee was like the main thing in the way that we had to kind of worry about. Like they could potentially delay this way further than we hoped and expected, but they're good to go as well. And that's a major thing checked off the checklist, because the NFL voters, we pretty much already assume they're going to vote yes. They just want to get this over with just as much as the fans want this over with. If anything, the owners want this done even quicker than the fans. They're ready to make money. They're ready for the Commanders to sell for a big time price, the most expensive sale of an American sports franchise in history ever, once this team is officially sold to Josh Harris and company for the $6.05 billion. So the NFL owners are just as ready to be done with all of this, even as much as we are as the fans. So they're not the holdup. It was really the finance committee to make sure everything was solidified. Because of course, with Josh Harris and the multiple part owners, I mean, it's in the double digits of how many people have their hands on this ownership group. Normally, like it's like one guy, typically maybe like a handful, like 5 or less. We're out here in the double digits. So there's a lot of little things that, like with the different finances, who's contributing what, who gets what percentage, all of that type of stuff. This is going to take time. That's why this is taking this long, because it's not a normal sale process. This is very unique to the sale process of just all sports franchises, even just more specifically the NFL. But either way, man, the main thing was the finance committee being in the way. But the NFL finance committee met remotely last week and is poised to recommend approval of Josh Harris's $6.05 billion Commanders deal, barring any setbacks. So going to John Kahn's article on ESPN, he said the NFL has scheduled a meeting next month where the owners are expected to vote on the sale of the Washington Commanders to a group led by Josh Harris, a source confirmed to ESPN on Friday. The NFL sent a memo to the owners that a meeting would take place July 20th to discuss the sale of the Commanders from Dan and Tanya Snyder to Harris Group for a record $6.05 billion. Again, this is unprecedented. It's likely that a vote would take place based on anticipated unanimous approval by the Finance Committee, according to the Washington Post, which first reported the meeting. The vote could take place in Minneapolis, where the owners met in late May. So we have a time and a day, but we don't exactly have a place. That's weird. That's interesting. But as long as it goes down, I do not care about the minor details. All I know is that I want Dan Snyder to go ahead and hand over this entire franchise to Josh Harris officially. Give him the keys. Make sure that Dan Snyder, he tries to pull up to the Washington facilities and his key card don't work. I'm talking about that level of the sale is done by July 20th. I want them to stop Dan Snyder at the gate like, you don't have clearance to go this far. That's the type of sale I'm talking July 20th. And it sounds like that's very likely to happen, barring any random unforeseen setbacks. We're scheduled to be good to go. I'm happy to hear that. The committee has not yet recommended approval, but the fact that a special meeting was set in the first place indicates the direction the sale is headed. Typically, the owners adhere to the committee's recommendation. For the sale to be approved, 24 of the 32 owners must vote in favor. Again, not more than half, not like 17 out of 32. No, it has to be 24 out of 32. But don't worry, because again, like I said, these NFL owners are ready for this to be over with just as much as us fans are. So it's probably going to be 32 out of 32, completely unanimous. Dan Snyder wants nothing to do with it. Josh Harris super wants the team. Even guys that were like Dan Snyder's kind of friends, like Jerry Jones and those guys, are just like, man, can we please be done with this? First of all, I'm tired of leaving my mansion to come all the way to Minneapolis to meet, to vote on these things. Can I just vote from the house? Like, they just are super done with this. Just see it from their point of view as well. The money that they're going to make once the sale goes through and how it's going to increase the overall brand and worth of the NFL. I mean, we're going from Dan Snyder with all of these situations, and I don't even want to call them allegations because they all sound super true, and it's just like, come on, dog. But either way, all of this negative publicity that Dan Snyder brings to the NFL brand, which if anything only hurts it, now he's gone. Again, the franchise is being sold for $6.05 billion. The NFL owners all share like a somewhat of a cut of the NFL together. So once that team is sold, they're technically making more money. And then again, with Dan Snyder gone and a new owner that has shown with both of his Philadelphia teams in the playoffs just a couple of months ago that he knows how to run a true sports professional franchise professionally the right way, he's only going to increase the worth and the brand of the Commanders, which again increases the NFL brand in totality. We're all one big brand, 32 brands that make one big giant NFL logo. So the more that the Commanders are worth, the more money that everybody makes. So again, just from the point of view of these NFL owners, they want this done as well. They are very excited about this sale because if anything, even just being completely selfish, just from the eyes and the point of view of a billionaire, they're just happy that at the end of the day, they're going to make more money because of this sale going through. In the short term, because the team being sold for $6.05 billion, and in the long term, because the NFL is going to become a better, more well-rounded and financially stable brand now that the Washington Commanders, DC is a top 10, should be top 5 market in really the country. It's really just been Dan Snyder holding it back. Once a good owner takes over, the Washington Commanders should become one of the top brands. I mean, even just regardless of the winning on the field or not, if we could just get away from the off the field issues and things like that as well. But of course, the winning is going to help a lot. And I'm telling you, man, the DC area is a sleeping giant. I'm mostly saying this to my non-DC people because I'm from Atlanta. Of course, people from the DMV know this, but people not from the DMV don't realize that the DC area should be a top 5 market in the country. And it's just like once the Commanders get right, if the Wizards can get right as well, it's just going to take off, man. It's going to be up there with like New York and LA and things like that. It really is a sleeping giant. So again, that's why from the NFL owner's point of view, they want this to be done. I would be shocked if this isn't a 32 out of 32 approval vote on July 20th. I'm not going to lie. John Comm goes on to say last year, for example, the committee recommended unanimous approval July 27th regarding the sale of the Denver Broncos to a group led by Walmart heir Robert Walton. The owners voted their approval August 9th. There's been strong motivation to get the Commanders deal done, according to multiple sources, and move on from the Snyders before the season begins. I really hope so, man. And for it to get done before training camp will be even better. Now, granted, I don't expect Josh Harris to come in here and just start making immediate changes. He's not Superman. He doesn't have magic. Even though he is a billionaire and he has a lot of billionaires behind him buying this team with him as a group and everything, you just can't fast forward time. It's not like he's going to come in here and the facilities are just immediately going to change just overnight. A lot of the problems that we have with Dan Snyder on the field, off the field, it's going to take time for those things to get better, to change or whatever, and to fix. Josh Harris can immediately step in and start putting those plans into motion. It's better to start July 20th than to start August, September, October, or whatever. But either way, just as fans, I hope people don't think that this is just about to be some day and night overhaul, just change up everything, new facilities, new practice field, all of that type of stuff. No. And just to go ahead and let you know, they've said it multiple times. Ian Rappaport has already reported it multiple times. They're not changing the name or the brand. Definitely not this year. Even if they're possibly considering it, it won't be changed this year at all. So again, there will be just no night and day difference of Josh Harris owning the team over Dan Snyder. But one thing I do know is that he won't get in the way. He won't be calling in picks from his yacht and things like that, but the draft has already happened. So 2023 wise, we really won't notice much of a difference, but 2024 and beyond, huge difference. Right now, this year, the only real notable change and effect that Josh Harris will have on this team is that we will finally be able to handle free agents and contracts and things like that. So if there's a free agent on another team that the Commanders want, then now with Josh Harris officially buying the team in totality and completely taken over, now Ron Rivera and those guys can definitely immediately refer to him like, hey, Josh Harris, we want to make this move. Do you approve of it? Stuff like that. We're in limbo right now. I mean, it's weird to go talk to Dan Snyder about it. It's weird to go talk about Josh Harris about it right now because he doesn't officially own the team yet. So we're in limbo as far as trying to make big decisions as far as contracts go. So most notably, like a Cameron Curl, the Ron Rivera and the Commanders, Martin Mayhew and all of those guys said months ago, I believe John Kahn reported it, that re-signing Cameron Curl long-term is an off-season priority. That was all the way back in April, March or something like that. But we have to wait until the sale officially goes through for them to, really talk numbers with them. And so don't be surprised if when Josh Harris officially buys the team from Dan Snyder, that a Cameron Curl deal, long-term extension, is in the works immediately. I mean, it won't necessarily be announced immediately, but it could, the ball could get rolling there as far as the Cam Curl deal, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets done before the regular season. So again, the sooner that he buys the team, the better. But I think a lot of people are expecting some crazy overnight type of changes. Those are one of the major changes. Another major change that will happen immediately is that hirings and position coach changes will be made official with announcements and everything, because Travell Warden has gone from assistant offensive lines coach to the real top dog offensive lines coach, the offensive lines coach, the head honcho. But the team just hasn't announced it yet because they're waiting for Josh Harris to officially buy the entire franchise. So that's pretty much been done, and we're a little confused about Juan Castillo and things like that. So we'll get more clarity on all of those things once Josh Harris buys the team. But again, stadium, facilities, and branding and all of that type of stuff, which a lot of fans are expecting to happen immediately, in the blink of an eye, as soon as he buys the team, as soon as he puts pen to paper. That's not necessarily going to happen, because even as far as trying to buy the new stadium, they've already been doing their homework as far as that goes, trying to get the RFK site if they can, looking at Maryland spots, Virginia spots, all of that type of stuff. They've already been doing a lot of homework on that already, even before this team has officially been sold July 20th. So again, a lot of these things just take a lot of time, take a long time to approve, to finance, to all of that type of stuff, to build. Even if Josh Harris were to write a check right now for a lot of the things that we want, again, a new facility, the next stadium and stuff like that, it still takes forever to build these things. So all of that, when we had those terrible grades, according to the free agency guide, which teams had the worst grades and a lot of things like facilities and flights, and how the team treats the players' families and all of that type of stuff, how we came in dead last. Even the Cardinals were ahead of us. Some of those things can change, but again, it's going to be really hard for a lot of those things to change immediately, especially before this regular season starts. But we'll see, man. Again, I just want y'all to be patient. Get excited. Josh Harris is buying the team, and it looks like he should officially buy the team by July 20th and literally have Dan Snyder hand him the keys and all of that type of stuff. But a lot of the changes that you're expecting may take longer than you think. But again, We can look forward to potential deals like Cameron Curl long term. I mean, we have a lot of 2024 unrestricted free agents coming up. We have Kendall Fuller, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel. I'm pretty sure all of those guys, if anything, most of them, we won't even get into negotiations and contract talks with those guys until towards like the end of the season or the beginning of the offseason, the 2024 offseason and things like that. But I think Cameron Curl, it seems like they want to get that done before the regular season, so we'll see. But going back to John Com's article, again, they want to move on from the Snyders before the season begins. That's why, despite concerns about the structure of the Harris offer at various points, many remained optimistic the deal would be completed. Multiple sources said the Snyders were eager to finish the process as well. So again, even Dan Snyder is like, I am done with this. Can y'all leave me alone? I've been in the UK since like the end of 2022. I haven't even been in America. Like, leave me alone. I only come over here when y'all require me to, type of thing. He wants nothing to deal with the Washington Commanders, the DMV area at all either. He's done. Everybody's done with this. Again, Washington opens training camp July 26th officially. And then we have like the open practice, the first open practice where fans can come watch and everything, July 27th. Either way, late July is when training camp officially starts. And hopefully this team can be sold before then. I was hoping before the draft. A lot of us were hoping before the draft. Already knew that wasn't very realistic, but a man can dream. But at the very least, if it can get done before training camp, before preseason, before the regular season starts, that would be wonderful, man. To enter regular season week 1, as you see on my thumbnails, I have a countdown of exactly how many days we have until week 1 against the Cardinals. That's the little calendar that you see on all of my thumbnails for the past couple of weeks, and I'm gonna keep it going all the way till week 1. When we hit week 1, that day against the Cardinals, the countdown that you see on my thumbnails, we will have a new starting quarterback, technically, even though, Sam Howell started 1 game last year, a new offensive coordinator, assistant head coach, a new owner, a lot of new things. But those are like the main 3. That's going to be crazy if all of those can happen at the same time. If Josh Harris would have bought the team a little later, then that would be like another celebration later down the line that would be a little fun. But I feel like the debut, week 1 against the Cardinals, new quarterback, offensive coordinator / head coach, and owner all at the same time, the trifecta? Come on now, man. Let's get it done. Let's get it done before training camp so these guys can focus on pure football. Because another thing, if this lingers past training camp, they're just going to keep getting those stupid questions about how do you feel about this with the owners, and are you waiting to sign guys like Cameron Cole long term? You got to wait until the owner, like all of these different ownership questions. It can be purely football, purely on the field, basically, if Josh Harris is able to buy this team all the way. I mean, maybe they asked Josh Harris himself about stadium updates, facility updates, and all that off the field stuff, maybe Jason Wright, but it's not like Jonathan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Ron Rivera, and Eric Bieniemy and those guys will be catching a lot of ownership questions during training camp. If this team is sold before training camp, which it looks like it should be, they can focus purely on football, which is really exciting. Again, we can also go ahead and get that whole contract negotiations with Cameron Curl and guys like that started. Any potential free agents that we're looking at, even though Ron Rivera did say a couple of months ago that we have to wait for Josh Harris or to officially buy the team before we can even really go out there and go get top free agents. But he already said it himself. Even beyond that, even if Josh Harris officially already bought the team, say like a couple of months ago when Ron Rivera was speaking on this, he said they weren't really looking at any top free agents anyway to where it would even matter. So don't expect any big news from the Commanders free agency wise, even if Josh Harris buys the team by July 20th, which again, it sounds like it will. John Com goes on to say on June 7th, the finance committee met with Harris for 2.5 hours in New York City. Afterwards, Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay, one of 8 members on the committee, expressed optimism to ESPN about the direction of the Harris bid. At the owners' meeting last month, Irsay had been adamant that work needed to be done to get the offer in compliance with the NFL guidelines. He said, quote, "I'm hopeful because of the inspired aspect and their enthusiasm and their track record. We're just trying to work through those final details. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to. I would imagine something in mid to late July would be the earliest we'd call a league meeting," unquote. And then shortly after that meeting, the NFL informed teams a possible vote would take place either July 20th or August 8th. And that just makes me even more optimistic that there were 2 options and we're going to end up using the soonest one, the earliest one, the July 20th rather than the August 8th. So that sounds like everything's progressing. It's on schedule. It's on time, maybe even a little bit further ahead of time than they expected. And everything's going even smoother than they expected. So if anything, we should be optimistic and be happy about the fact that out of the 2 potential vote date options, we're going with the earlier one. That means we are on track. Everything's a go, green light. Harris's group includes Washington, D.C. billionaire Mitchell Rales, as well as NBA Hall of Famer Magic Johnson among its 20 limited partners. That's why this is taking so long. This is unprecedented. This is not normal. All of whom had to be vetted by the committee, adding to the length of time in recommending their approval. That's literally because it's not just a handful of guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that are buying the team, because it's 20 people. That's what's been taking so long. It's not necessarily that they just been running into bumps like error, this is wrong, this is bad, this is off, things like that. It's just this takes time because this is just weird. The NFL, I don't think, has done anything like this. And I remember seeing like a few weeks ago that they're going to try to put rules in place to where they never really have to go through this again. Or at the very least, if somebody wants to buy a team again with a bunch of minority owners like the Commanders are doing, that they already have rules in place that are set up to allow this to go through way quicker, to expedite this process. Because right now, this is unfamiliar territory for everybody, even the NFL side. They're like, okay, I guess we can do this. This should work. 20 people, I guess we can. But after this, we're pretty much the crash test dummy right now. This process of 20 minority owners buying a team is like a crash test dummy for even the NFL side of things. Not even just Josh Harris and those guys that are buying the team, but even the NFL is like, we've never been here before. This is unfamiliar territory. So they want to, like, after we're done with this, they're going to basically do like an audit or like a review of like, okay, what went well, what went wrong? Let's fix it. Let's go ahead and form a package together, a process together. So if anybody wants to do this nonsense again, bringing in this many owners to buy a team, we will already have the exact steps of what they need to do, how they need to do it, when they need to do it, where, all of that type of stuff. So I thought that was also really interesting that we're pretty much a crash test dummy for this type of a sale. It's really interesting. The committee has worked with Harris to get his bid in compliance with the NFL guidelines. Irsay said multiple times in the past 2 months there were concerns over the amount of depth carried by Harris and how much equity was in his offer. According to NFL guidelines, a new owner can't take on more than $1.1 billion in debt and must put down 30% of the offer. Irsay also said Harris and Rales wanted the league to work with them, particularly from a taxation standpoint. They know it can't be smoke and mirrors, Irsay told ESPN in early June after the committee met with Harris. It's a complicated deal, unquote. But Irsay, as well as others in the league, including Commissioner Roger Goodell, said that they would not alter the guidelines to accommodate Harris. So they're sticking to the rules. The process is weird, but at the end of the day, rules are rules. They're not going to bend the rules to get this done. They're going to make sure everything works out perfectly fine. And then, of course, John Comm does a whole history lesson of Snyder buying the team, who was competing with Josh Harris in the group, like the Steve A guy from Canada, all these different people that put bids in on the team. Of course, you had like the Brian Davis situation or whatever, all of that. So there's a whole history of that in the article if you also want to continue to read that. But I just more so want to update y'all on new information that you may not have heard yet. A lot of that history stuff I've already talked about in previous videos, so I don't want to waste y'all time any longer than I need to. So yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if about everything discussed in this video. Again, the PC is being repaired right now, so I will be back to normal video format. And yeah, man, I really appreciate all the support, man. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Of course, shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors. Let me see scrolling on the screen right now. Again, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything. Are you relieved? Are you excited that this team can officially be sold potentially before even training camp starts? I know I am. Get in the comment section. Let me know all of your feelings on this topic, and I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.